everyone, Darren here, and today's episode of WotC Academy is going to be the armor weak points of the machine. This tank has been in the game for, I believe, about 2 years now, and I remember at the beginning, many people thought this tank was very OP frontally, and while that is kind of the case if you're auto-aiming, and you're at the receiving end of the gun, I can see that argument, but I quickly discovered after it was in pub games for a while that there are some weak points on the front that you can take advantage of that you may not have even figured out were weak points. So that's what this video is going to be about. So let's get started. So I'm going to actually kind of struggle to continue talking through this whole video. Each one has some important sections I need to cover in various parts of the video, so I will be just letting them play out. I will say though that I'm going to omit the showing the rear of the machine because the whole thing is a weak point. Like, absolutely the whole thing is a weak point. There is no need for me to explain something that is, in entirety in a weak point, and everything will pen with the exception of the tracks. But if you shoot the hull on the rear of the tank anywhere, turret or chassis, it's going to pen on the rear. So I have omitted that from this video. Tank I'm using is the AMX CDC, and you'll be seeing clips here of me both going through various sections of the armor with both standard rounds and premium rounds. We've seen this in my previous videos as well. But really quickly here, I'm going to just quickly say that there are 5 main weak points on the front of the machine, and any other pens you see with either both standard or premium rounds, I would omit those as not valid weak points and purely RNG based. Again, I'm using a 90mm, so there is still a chance that higher caliber guns would be a weak point. And I also would like to omit HE as a round because of the fact that some HE, if not all HE, does do splash damage. At the making of this video, it's like 10 o'clock and I'm very tired, so I don't remember exactly what rounds do or do not do splash damage, or if both do. But the 5 weak points here on the front of the machine are the cupola of the chieftain there, and then on the 50B chassis we can see that there are the 2 cheeks, just the 2 little angled rectangle cheeks just above the tracks. And you can see me shooting the hull here just as kind of proof that, there's no weak points on the hull. Very well rounded. And then there are 2 other weak points that are a little bit hard to explain how they are weak points, but they are weak points nonetheless. And you're about to see that right now. In between the axle, or the drive wheel axle of the tracks, you can see that there is a gap between the roof of the tank there above the tracks and the axles of the tracks. On both sides, it is a weak point, and even with standard rounds, I penned and did damage. Now we can also see here on the lower plate, there's kind of like a 50-50 weak spot. You may be able to pen it, you may not be able to pen it, and that is a little U-shaped kind of section of the armor that is able to be penned with standard rounds as well as premium rounds. Honestly, I didn't really, conditioning while playing this game has pretty much taught me to just never shoot at the hull of a 50B. So the fact that that little weak point, or kind of a weak point, flew under the radar for me, I'm not surprised, because most good players kind of quickly learn to just not bother shooting or auto aiming at the hull of a 50B when it's facing you. So yeah. But other than that, now you can see me going through with the premium rounds, and you do see that, one of those rounds penned that I did omit because it chances of it actually penning consistently is probably slim to none. So I omitted that as a valid weak point. You can see I shoot 2-3 times just to double check, and that's when I omitted it. Just moving on again, as you can see, the weak points that I've mentioned with the standard rounds have penned. The driver's hatch as well, I omitted just because of the fact that I wasn't able to pen it with standard rounds, but with the premium round I was. I assumed I high rolled with RNG, pen RNG there, because apparently pen RNG is a thing ever since they announced that with the start of those tests that they did months ago. Just as you can see here, I'm just kind of a little bit trying to keep explaining and talking about things, but as you can see, upper hull of the 50B still invulnerable to at least 90mm rounds. But again, still that weak point there. I'm thinking about the weak point there on the 50B there. When you look and see at the side profile, you're going to see that there is actually like a little tiny bumper on the rear of the tank. And so when I was looking around, I was coming to the conclusion, and I can't tell you if it's 100% right or wrong, is that, you know, you'd be shooting through the tracks to that back little part of the tank there that you can kind of see just behind the tracks there at the top, and I would be penning that. Can't say that that's 100% certain or fact, but yeah. Moving on here to the side, it's a French tank, pretty much mostly with the side of a turret, so it's going to be very, very easy to figure out what is what is a weak point, what is not. So what you're seeing here with the standard rounds, whole back half of the Chieftain turret is a weak point. So is the cupola. And I don't really need to explain a whole lot regarding the tank there, but it's a French tank. It is it's going to just pen everywhere, and you kind of see this. And I just quickly just shoot, just random spots, because there's no need to shoot along the tracks when it will pen everywhere. And you can see that I'm just kind of hovering that it's red all along the tracks. Sorry, I had to adjust my mic there. But anyway, moving on here to the last little bit, you can say same thing with premium rounds. But I do want to mention that I marked the front half of the turret as orange because the turret there is kind of like, I discovered that you can kind of pen with premium rounds, but I just wanted to be safe and say that it may or may not be a good weak point, just because how rounded the turret is and how semi-flat the gun mantlet that you just saw me shoot was. So just to be safe, I marked that as orange, as it may or may not be a valid weak point there. But again, whole side of the tank, as you can see, it's French, so it's pretty much going to pen everywhere with, for the most part, the whole thing. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for the weak points of the machine. Like I said, I'm not going to cover the rear because the whole thing is a weak point on the rear. But I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.